Hello and welcome to the second episode of this series where I try to learn how to solve 3 Rubik's Cubes whilst juggling on a unicycle. In the last episode you could see me practice the basics, that's mainly juggling on a unicycle since I am already able to solve Rubik's Cubes whilst juggling pretty well. Now, juggling wasn't too hard, at least when I did right straight forward, but when I tried to juggle whilst trying to stay in the same place I had some serious trouble. You're joining me again about a week later, and I had practiced a bit more of this swinging back and forth in the same place thing, as I called it last time. Now I found out it's actually called idling, and it's pretty important for what I'm trying to do here. And that's for a few reasons that I might explain at a later point. But I also had a week to think about this, and I thought, screw it, I might actually be able to do one cube without idling. So I just, grabbed a Rubik's Cube and 2 juggling balls and just went for it. I thought it might be smart to see if I can do some algorithms first, so I did set up a fairly easy algorithm and I just tried. This algorithm is called a U-perm and it just swaps 3 edge pieces. It's a very nice algorithm for one-handed solving because you have to turn just 2 layers and that's pretty easy to do with one hand. And I mean, solving Rubik's Cubes whilst juggling is basically just some fancy one-handed solving. But overall I have to say my attempts went pretty much as I expected. I had a few good ones, like this one where I had just one move left before I decided to drop my juggling ball. But I also had quite a few attempts with, different levels of success. But eventually I managed to do several different algorithms, and I wish I could show you, but I can't because my camera decided to die right at this point, and I didn't notice it for a while. Now we are back again a while later, and at this time I decided to just scramble the cube and just go for it, just try to solve it. Back in the day when I was trying to learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube whilst juggling initially, I did basically the same thing, just scramble the cube and just try to solve it. When you fail, just scramble the cube again and just go again. And it took me quite a while back then, but it was pretty successful in the end, so I thought I might just do the same thing here. Now, the first few attempts were not actually that successful, but it didn't take me long to get at least some good runs. So before we continue, I want to pause this quickly, because I want to explain what I'm actually doing. Now, in this frame you can see that I solved a white cross. Now, I usually start with white or yellow, in this case it's white, and this cross is the first step in the method I use. Now, what I will try to do next is solve, for example, this corner, but not only this corner, but also a correlating edge. And together they form an F2L pair, F2L standing for first 2 layers, because when I solve the remaining 3 F2L pairs, I will have solved my first and my second layer of the cube. So that's my goal for now, let's see how it goes. Well, that was pretty quick, but in this frame you can see that I solved not only my white cross, but also this F2L pair. And if we look on the other side, there's actually another F2L pair. So 2 F2L pairs, that's not too bad. And I would definitely call this a first success. But now it's just about scrambling the cube again and just, try again. Try to beat this. After 2 pretty good attempts, this one looked like it would be another good one, but this time I was cut short by my poor decision making that had led me right into the main cycling path through the park, and I could hear several bicycles coming from each direction, so I just had to stop there. Yeah, that's definitely my own fault, but at least I still solved one F2L pair. Now, motivated by those first few pretty successful runs, I just kept going. Now, my attempts were not that great anymore. I managed to solve one F2L pair for a few times, but overall it just wasn't good. I mean, yeah. But that's until this happened. Well, that was a pretty good attempt, so let me actually explain this to you. In this frame you can see that I solved my first two layers. They are just down there with white facing the bottom, and yes, I started with white again. And now I will focus on my last layer. And because I started with white, yellow is now my last color, and what I will try to do is to bring all the yellow stickers to the top. I use an algorithm for that, I learned a bunch of them, and this step is called orientation of last layer, or for short OLL, and that's what I'm doing right now. So here you can see that indeed all the yellow stickers are facing up, so I managed to solve OLL, but now my next step is to swap all those pieces around, and that's where I screwed up, but in my defense it was a pretty bad case. So this last step is called permutation of last layer, or for short Now that attempt did tell me that it was actually possible to do this right at that point, so of course I wanted to do it. But let me tell you, there are a lot of things that can go wrong. This time it was the wind that screwed me over, and the next time I just veered off the path. And yet again the next time absolutely nothing happened. I also had a few, let's say, rather unlucky attempts.
Oh fucking hell, that would have been in a while.
And in addition to dropping juggling balls, I also managed to do this a couple of times.
And that's the first time I've dropped my Rubiks Cube.
Yes, it was the first time, but it shouldn't stay the only time. And this definitely makes you question why you chose to do this with your most expensive Rubik's Cube. But hey, at least I didn't, I don't know, ride my unicycle straight over the Rubik's Cube, because my orange juggling ball might be able to tell a story about that. So as you can see, I had quite a few attempts and it was getting harder and harder to stay focused. And I slowly started to get desperate. All the way to the point where I was even questioning whether I would be able to do it, like, at all. After a little break, I decided to scramble the cube for one final time. And this time I told to myself, this cube will not be solved again unless it is whilst juggling and on a unicycle. And right away the brake had done its work and the first attempt was already pretty good. I managed to finish the first 2 layers, but I failed right as I wanted to start with OLL. At this point I could almost feel it. There was something up in the air. I could almost smell success. If I just kept trying, surely I would be able to do it at some point. So, enjoy! Yes, I did it! So right away, let me tell you, I am not the first one to do this. There is actually a guy from the USA who has done it like back in 2019, I think. So yeah, he was way earlier with that, and he actually managed to do it while idling, so I guess he can actually do something that I can't. So yeah, I actually managed to solve 1 cube, and I think it didn't even take me a minute, so it might actually be world record, I don't know. But let me tell you, this is not the end of this series. My goal is still to solve 3 cubes, and I do have a lot of work to do until I can do that. I can already tell you that episode 3 might take a while for me to make, and that's for a couple of reasons. But I might make 1 or 2 videos in between, because I do plan on uploading on a regular basis. So while you are watching me struggling with my 5x5 Rubik's Cube, let me thank you for watching this. Again, it was a lot of fun to make this video, so I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.